This is Willard Espy, opening another issue of Personalities in Print. You remember the other day I was chatting with Alexander Eliot, art editor of Time. I was talking with him about 300 years of American painting, the massive collection of American paintings, which has just been put out by the editors of Time magazine. And he had so many fascinating yarns and anecdotes about these painters who have created our heritage that I've asked him if he would mind chatting with me again. Mr. Eliot, it's good to see you.
Awful nice to be here again. Thank you, Mr. Espy.
One of the paintings that I like best in this book is Stag at Sharkey's by George Bellows. How did that picture come to be?
Well, Sharkey's Boxing Club was right across Herald Square from Bellows' studio. He himself was an athlete, you know. He was a semi-pro ball player and a basketball player. He never painted those two sports. Of course, they're notoriously hard to paint. But he was one of so many examples of a very virile American artist who was deeply involved in the everyday pursuits of his time.
Those two men always looked like the cat and pup that ate each other up to me. I don't see how either of them can survive that boxing match.
That's just the feeling, yeah.
Weren't a lot of these American painters in the early days, and as a matter of fact, aren't a lot of them still self-taught painters?
Many self-taught and many more self-made. Men who started out in one profession or another and gradually got the chance to study.
In all these 250 color paintings, is there any one Alexander Eliot that you would say is your favorite?
No, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of favorites. There are a great many masterpieces by old masters, and also by young masters too, by the way, men still alive. America has produced painting to rival that of any country except possibly the French school. It's a magnificent heritage. If I had to pick one just offhand, I might say Thomas Aiken's portrait of Walt Whitman. He saw Whitman as he was and painted him in the round as a human being, and that's what I've been trying to do in writing about these people, to show them in the round.
I notice, Alexander Eliot, that you've given quite a bit of space to Grandma Moses. Why is that?
Well, some critics don't think much of her. I think she's a wonderful old lady who paints marvelously, and I don't see why we can't enjoy her just because her work is somewhat unsophisticated. She was always marvelous. Even as a kid, if her brothers would climb up a tree, she'd climb higher. And as a housewife, she made marvelous potato chips, the best in Virginia, so I hear.
So this book, 300 Years of American Painting, is really a great museum of all the paintings that we have contributed to the life of art. Now, are there museums throughout the country? There must be, which at least show some of these paintings. Or are they all in New York?
Oh no, right across the country, dozens and dozens of excellent collections of American painting exist. In fact, I included in the book at the end a section called 100 Collections of American Painting. And those 100 collections take in most of the 48 states. I do think that next to going to a museum, this book will give you a clearer idea of American art than anything else, but there is no substitute for going and looking at the real thing.
So if you do look in the back of the book, you can find out where the nearest museum to you is.
Absolutely, they are.
Well, hundreds of thousands of Americans are going to have this museum in their home, I'm sure, Alexander Eliot, and I think you should feel very proud to have brought about such an important and significant accomplishment. This is Willard Espy, closing another transcribed issue of Personalities in Print. This is Willard Espy, opening another page of Personalities in Print. Alexander Eliot, would you consider yourself a teacher, an artist, an editor, a writer, or what are you?
That's a tough one. Writing includes all those things, I guess. I guess I'd rather be a writer than anything.
Well, you are art editor of Time, and you did write the text of this magnificent new Time book, 300 Years of American Painting, did you not?
Sure did.
Alexander Eliot, I recall a few years ago walking down Fifth Avenue and looking into the display window of Brentano's, a bookshop, and I saw an original painting. It was displayed alongside of several copies of a book of American painting, which were open to that same page. And I checked the colors in the reproductions in the book against the colors in the original. And I don't believe I could see any two tones, any two shades that were identical as between the two. Is that common in art reproduction?
I'm afraid it is all too common. I don't know the book that you're referring to, but of course the situation has improved over the last few years. The techniques of color reproduction have been considerably advanced. And in this book, I think we've got as accurate color as anybody ever did. What we did was we sent out the art director on the book, Mike Phillips, to check every single one of the 250 pictures against color proofs standing right there in the museum or the private collection, wherever it might happen to be. And then he'd fly back into Chicago and talk to our engravers there, and they'd pull new proofs within a matter of hours, even if it was midnight or 3 in the morning. And in this way, we, just by going over the thing again and again and again, we've achieved, I think, unprecedented accuracy.
And isn't it true that although it is only actually going on sale on newsstands today, that more than 125,000 people have already bought copies of it?
That's right. Yes, it's very encouraging to me. I think there is this tremendous interest in this field that we've just begun to tap.
Isn't this the first book that the editors of Time actually have put together themselves?
It's the first major publication, yes.
You wrote all the text on this, didn't you, Mr. Eliot?
Yes.
And what were you trying to do in this text?
My chief idea was to try to present American art not as a dull, dry subject for art students, but as part of a living culture, a living heritage, and as the product of human beings.
And you have succeeded in creating the first definitive popular history of American painting. Let's just thumb through the book for a minute. Here's a picture of one Joseph Wanton by John Smibert. Now, who is John Smibert?
Well, he was the son of an Edinburgh dyer who was also a friend of Bishop Berkeley. And Berkeley helped Smibert come to this country, and he was perhaps our first highly skilled portraitist.
Let's look for a moment at the modern. Here's Evergood's American Shrimp Girl. That was painted just in 1954, and it shows it's a combination of many whites. And what would you say the color of that sweater was? A red sweater?
It sure is red. Yeah, Evergood likes really strong colors. As he says, doesn't matter what a man leaves behind him as long as he leaves something sweet and something sour. And he tries to put a little bit of both in every painting of his.
Of course, in presenting a panorama of American painting ever since colonial times, you have also presented a panorama of American history since those times.
I think that the book shows American history, that it mirrors American history. I think our painters have, more than any other school perhaps in the history of art, have turned outward to embrace the nation.
Thank you very much, Alexander Eliot, art editor of Time. This is Willard Espy, closing another transcribed issue of Personalities in Print.